Good evening, everyone. To our work session that we're going to have this evening. We will conduct this meeting and then we will go ahead and transition right into a regular meeting at the appropriate time. Due to the setup this evening, we will reserve public speech for the regular session of council as President Eisnick will conduct at that time. With that said, Ms. Rowland, can you see which public officials are present this evening?
Yes. Mayor Kathy Catanzaro-Perry,
Good evening.
Safety Service Director Barb Sylvester,
Present.
Auditor Jane Ferraro, Chief Deputy Auditor Debbie Funk, Chief Deputy Auditor Stephanie Myers, Law Director Justin Richard,
Present.
Chief Counsel Bill Bartos,
Present.
Chief Engineer David Kroc, Jason Popeil,
Present.
Community Development Director Samantha Walters,
Present.
Economic Development Director David Maley,
Present.
Parks and Rec Director Steve Pedro, Treasurer Maud Slagle, Police Chief Mosier,
Present.
Fire Chief Tom Burgasser,
Good evening.
Income Tax Budget Director Lori Katagides Boron. Is there anyone else from administration that I did not mention?
Greg McHugh, engineering.
Okay. Is there anyone else? That's it, President Pro Tem.
Thank you. And can we do a roll of members of council?
Kramer,
Present.
Greg,
Present.
Hearn Kane,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Littman,
Here.
Lombardi,
Here.
Sloots,
Here.
Sterrett,
Here.
and Barrett.
Present.
President Eisnick,
Present.
all present and accounted for.
Thank you. Now on to committees, community development.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have 3 old pieces of legislation still pending. That is the academic inducement grants for Print Bar, Head to Toe Salon and Spa, and Kathy Boyd's Hair Studio. Any conversation on either of those tonight? Any objection to bringing those forward for a vote tonight? I tend to let them go 3 readings, but I really haven't even heard much feedback on either of these at all. So any objection, any concerns if we bring those forward for a vote tonight? Okay, that's all I got.
Ms. Sterrett, I got one question
Yes, sir.
unrelated to those. At the next work session, can we as a community development committee, with the administration's input, discuss the possibility of leasing of city-owned properties? We have a couple businesses in the downtown area that enjoy using some of the area for outside dining, but it is city-owned, and there's concerns that eventually it'll transition to not being able to be used. So we should probably have a conversation as to what it would look like moving forward.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, environmental.
Nothing from environmental.
Health and Welfare.
I have nothing.
Parks and Rec.
I have nothing.
Police and Fire.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Yes, we have several things on the agenda for police and fire this evening. The first request for legislation is from Chief Burgasser. The legislation request is to purchase a custom point ladder truck using state term purchasing at a cost not to exceed $860,000, equipped with a mid-mount 75-foot aerial, a 30-gallon foam extinguishing system, and appropriate valves, and appliances for residential, commercial, and industrial use. We also have this legislation is requested to be an emergency due to the fact that the build time often exceeds 10 to 12 months from the time that the order is placed. Now, with this request for legislation, we have all received a very detailed explanation from Chief Burgasser, allowing us to read this information prior to this evening's meeting. So is Chief Burgasser on the line this evening?
I am. Good evening, Ms. Littman.
Okay, thank you. Would you be able to share with us in detail a little bit about why vehicle to be purchased, as well as I know you have included several other estimates in here, basically indicating why you've chosen the one you have?
So we haven't really chosen one above the other. There are actually two pieces in state term, although I did indicate four. They are mid-mount is different than rear mount, and the reason for a mid-mount aerial is that it's got a shorter wheelbase and is able to traverse residential streets more easily. Our tower truck, and Councilman Theriot would be familiar with this, is longer. And so when we have to use that as a reserve engine, it can't navigate down some of the smaller city streets. And that's why we would use that's why we used the Quint in the past, was as a ladder truck that could function as an engine, and that it could navigate the smaller streets more appropriately. You kind of cut out, Mrs. Littman, and I didn't hear the middle of your request. Did you want me to explain something else, or was there anything else that you needed?
Well, I guess I would be interested, as well as perhaps the committee members and the rest of council, in why do you feel that it's necessary to purchase an additional ladder truck? What has led us to this situation?
Well, we lost our Quint in 2018 when it was determined to be unsafe to drive as a result of corrosion, as a result of a number of different things, and the cost to repair it was going to be $300,000 to $400,000. And at that time, I decided I was going to try and write grants to get another ladder truck. That's why we had to maintain it. We had to keep it down at the city garage in order to say that we had one that was unsafe to drive. I wasn't successful with that, and so we've really been without this piece of equipment for a while. It backs up all of our engines. We have 4 engines currently, and it is a replacement engine if one of those goes down. Right now, we need to use the tower truck, and the only place the tower truck can go is Station 2. And as I said, it can't navigate most of the residential streets. There are, and I wrote that in the letter, there were a number of rescues, a number of other items that a Quint is versatile for. That's why we need this piece of equipment.
I'll open up questions to the committee members. Mr. Therrett and/or Mr. Lombardi, do you have any questions of Chief Burgasser at this time?
I don't have any questions, Mrs. Littman.
I don't have any questions. I'm sorry to say that it's taken us so long to even consider this. That is, like you said, a vital piece of equipment that we've drawn on consistently throughout the years. I think we should be moving along very quickly with this to get this on board. Thank you.
Chief Burgasser, you'd indicated in some of the material that you're looking for an approval of 860,000, even though the estimates that you have indicated here, many are less than that. Can you give us an explanation as to what would all be included in that request for 860,000?
Well, again, Mrs. Lippman, as I indicated, this is the equivalent of buying a house. Once you buy a house, you have to furnish it with equipment. Equipment such as a hot water tank, a dishwasher, a furnace, those kind of things. An engine or a quint is no different. The initial state term purchasing is for anywhere from 600 to 690,000, but then you have to add such things as the nozzle that goes on the end of the waterway, which is probably about $15,000. The calf system, the foam system, which is probably around $60,000. There is a generator that needs to be placed. And whether that's a generator that is installed directly or it is a portable generator, those are all pieces of equipment that come as part of this. I'm not talking about hose, I'm not talking about air packs. We have a good bit of that. I'm just talking about the furnishings. It's different than the equipment. It's different than the furnishings. So those kind of things that make it a viable option are not listed as part of a base state purchasing piece.
Okay, you've given us 4 estimates here. Have you honed in on what you were looking at for the purchase? I thought I had read in part of this that you were looking for a 75-foot mid-mount aerial, and some of them provide that, some of them do not. Is that going to dictate which company you will likely choose?
Yes, it does. I indicated, I wanted to give you an idea of what all state term purchasing lists out as fire equipment under current contract. I think that's necessary for you to have and understand. There are several that list rear mount aerials and really only 2, Rosenbauer and Sutphen, that make a mid mount aerial. And so we're going to be looking at those 2, and I'll have information to get the Board of Control as to what would determine going with one bid instead of the other.
Is it likely that you will need the entire 860 to equip whichever one you choose to include all of the necessary items you were indicating earlier?
Yes.
You've also sold the prior truck, is that correct?
In part, that's correct, Mrs. Littman. We advertised it on Gov Deals. There was a winning bidder on Gov Deals, and so far they have not paid. If they don't pay, that's going to go to the next highest bidder, and that's actually your current as of today. So that gentleman or that agency has not paid for that vehicle yet.
As part of that sale, did it include them picking up the vehicle since it is inoperable?
Yes.
Okay, are there any other questions for Chief Burgasser from other council members? Mr. Gregg, you have a question?
I have a comment and a question. Thank you, Mrs. Littman. First of all, Chief, I want to congratulate you on the hiring of your replacement, Chief Heck. He's starting soon. I also, as I expressed to you personally, want to thank you for your service to the city and wish you well in your retirement. We're going to miss you. Secondly, I wanted to ask about if you could give a brief explanation of the difference between the state term purchasing and the bid process. And again, just general and high level brief.
I actually believe Mr. McHugh would be more familiar with that kind of explanation. By the way, thank you for your kind words, Mr. Gregg. But the bid process allows for folks to give sealed bids, and then you have a 30-day window. And after those sealed bids come in, you open the sealed bids and you find out if apples are apples. You find out what is part of the process as people do or do not provide a bid. After that, then you determine which one that you go with based on lowest and best. State term purchasing allows for, because many people have already advertised, as long as they have current contracts in place, you're entitled to use that and actually not have to wait the 30 days. You can take those because all of them have given that bid into current contract under Ohio purchasing. And so that's what we've done.
Okay, so the contract is with the state then, is that correct?
Yes.
That's where the information is? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I kind of thought. I wanted a little further explanation on that. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Chief Burgasser, I'm guessing that the 860,000 is not in your budget, that it is going to be taken out of our carryover. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm not sure if the auditor's on the line, but I guess I would like to request, as we are using our carryover from prior year, if it is possible for us to get an update periodically on what is remaining in our carryover, just so that we as council members are aware of, I mean, this is a pretty large chunk to be taken out of our carryover. If it would be possible, I'm guessing that we do have the funds available in carryover, but so that we can be apprised of what our balance would be on an ongoing basis, that would be appreciated. Are there any other questions on this piece of legislation? If not, I will go ahead and give my verbal to have it placed on our next meeting agenda. Mr. Therrett and Mr. Lombardi.
Lombardi verbal.
Third variable.
Thank you. Okay, we do have another piece of legislation for police and fire. The Massillon Police Department is requesting approval to accept a $3,000 donation from Grief Packaging LLC in the form of a check that has, again, already been sent and received. There's no specific use listed, except that it is for police department use. Funds will be deposited into account number 1215.305.4.1430, which is the law enforcement local grant line item. It is also marked as for an emergency. I'm looking at a note from the auditor's office indicating the check has already been deposited in the law enforcement local grant line item due to time restrictions on depositing checks in a timely manner. Are there any questions from our police and fire committee? Seeing none, are there any from other council members? Seeing none, I will put this on the agenda for next meeting. Mr. Barrett and Mr. Lombardi.
There it gives us a verbal.
Lombardi verbal.
Thank you. We do have one other one here. Excuse me, just a moment. I dropped my glasses. This one is from the police chief, Chief Moser. Do we have Chief Moser on the line this evening?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. This one indicates this request for legislation is an ordinance repealing section 2 of ordinance number 126-1977 and enacting a new section 2 of ordinance 126-1977 and declaring an emergency. Section 1 indicates that there will be and is hereby enacted a new section 2 of ordinance 126-1977. Said new section number 2 shall read as follows. Personnel of the police department. We have a chief of police, 1. We have a captain, 1. Lieutenants, 3. Sergeants, 8. Patrol officers, 44. The section 2 shall read under this request for legislation. This new section abolishes 1 captain position and 1 lieutenant position and adds 2 sergeant positions. The abolished positions will be done through attrition and no layoffs or demotions will be used to effect the abolishment. 1 of the new sergeant positions will be effective immediately. The 2nd sergeant position will be effective upon the abolishment of both the captain and the lieutenant positions. Officers promoted on an acting basis will not count toward the listed requirements. This new section is necessary for the police department's reorganization plan in order to provide improved police services to the community. This request for legislation is also requested as an emergency. And the reason for the legislation is stated, said enactments are necessary for the efficient operation of the police department of the City of Massillon and for the preservation of public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Chief Burgasser, I think I'll start with you. If you wouldn't mind giving us a thorough explanation of why you feel a police department reorganization is necessary and why you're choosing to go about that reorganization in this manner.
Okay, Chief Moser. This is in conjunction with another piece of legislation to accept an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Gold Bargaining Unit through the Police Department Union. Reason we need it. The way we currently have our supervisors assigned within the police department, it's been the way for at least the last 25 years that I'm aware of. And with this, we have an excess of supervision on the patrol side, but a lack of supervision on the support side. For instance, we could have on some occasions 3 supervisors on patrol supervising 4 patrol officers. Conversely, on the support side, we have times where there's 1 lieutenant overseeing 12 patrol officers in different areas of the police department. So as you can see, the span of control is not very consistent or efficient. So by implementing this, we're trying to refocus some of the blurred lines of supervision and management eliminate some positions that will become unnecessary, and give all officers more opportunity to expand their horizons within the PD. Current duties that our supervisors have, they really need clarification. Currently, the chief and our captains are tasked with duties consistent with both upper management and middle management. Our lieutenants go back and forth between first line supervisors and middle management, and sergeants will perform as first line supervisors and patrolmen. So it's pretty obvious from this, it's very inefficient and confusing to work with. By having each rank specialized within a particular branch of management, they become better versed with their area that they're in. Having a military background, I kind of use the similar organizational structure, and I think it'll better serve our police department. What I foresee is the chief and captains being upper management, lieutenants strictly middle management, and sergeants first line supervisors. No more blurred lines, and this is a lot closer to how other departments are all structured. Like we said, one of the captains, one of the lieutenants will become unnecessary in this. We will have lieutenants taking some of that responsibility. And with that, we should see some significant savings. Maybe not initially, but after those positions do become abolished, there will be some fairly significant savings. I think it's real important that we give our officers options within the police department. There's nothing worse than just kind of settling in and knowing you're going to be on patrol for 25 years. All employees want the opportunity to advance, do something different every now and then, and this will help us to accomplish that. It will also help us to keep some of the good officers that we have here. If they see that stagnation, they might be more tempted to go elsewhere, and it's going to be a really tough time for getting good police officers in and keeping them. So that's basically it.
Mr. Ferret?
Thank you, Mr. Lippman. Chief, I'm a little familiar with the military structure also, but this seems inordinately top heavy. You have 13 supervisors supervising 44 patrol officers. That's like 1 to 3. That's a pretty skinny span of command. I realize you said sometimes it expands and contracts, but that's hard to imagine that many officers or promoted positions for a department of our size.
Well,
again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this too.
okay, how it's broken up is we have our 3 patrol shifts, we have our detective bureau, and then we have support. So each of the 3 patrol shifts would be having 2 sergeants assigned to them to be able to cover for days off, because they have to have a supervisor on shift at all times. The detective bureau and the support shift would have 1 sergeant assigned to both of those. They would be first line supervisors over that area. So realistically, with the sergeants, you're going to have about 1 to 4, 1 to 5 ratio, which is basically what the recommended span of control is for supervision. Now, your lieutenants, captain, and chief, like I said, they are middle managers. They're not first line supervisors. they're going to be planning, doing the long-term planning, short-term planning, basically being able to focus on their area and what improvements need to be there, what their guys need, and how to get that for them. So realistically, we're not adding any supervisors. We are just redistributing them. Initially, there will be one added, but after the abolishment of those two positions, it will be the same number of supervisors within the police department. It's just reallocating them in a more efficient manner.
Thank you, Chief.
Artie, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, Mrs. Lippman.
Thank you. Mr. Hernkane?
Thank you, Mrs. Lippman. I have a few questions for the chief, if I may. Chief, who's currently eligible to take the chief's test if there were a vacancy in your position currently?
Currently, it would be the two captains if they both signed up to take it. If they did not both sign up to take it, then the lieutenants would be eligible to take the test.
So if you only had one captain, would that automatically open up the opportunity to take the test to the rank immediately below?
Yes, it would.
Okay. So, because you have to have at least two take a test, right?
Correct.
Okay. Another question I had is when you talk about advancement through the department, and I appreciate you saying that because I do think we need to keep our officers and give them an opportunity to move up the ranks. But wouldn't that, if you're eliminating a captain position and a lieutenant position and adding sergeants, wouldn't that actually limit their opportunity to advance past a sergeant position because there would be less higher up positions?
Yes, but it gives more opportunity for the patrolmen to move up. And then the rank or the supervisors, the sergeants and lieutenants have the opportunity to move between patrol, detective bureau, support. So like I said, it's the same amount of positions. So, it's not really, it's eliminating some, but it's adding some others.
Okay, I
And
got
it
you.
is adding the ability to move around outside of patrol a lot more.
Okay. The last question I have is there any way that this would increase maybe in an unforeseen fashion or overtime moving forward at all?
No, because I don't want to say no. There's always a possibility.
Sure.
The majority of our overtime is in our patrol, the blue bargaining unit, and we're not moving any of them. So,
Okay.
like it shouldn't affect it much, if any.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Chief, will you also review with us what was discussed with the gold unit? This is going to have to be approved by them as well. Has there been prior discussion with them?
Yes, we did sit down with the gold unit and both sides agreed to a memorandum of understanding, which you should have. And it basically spells out step by step how this reorganization is going to be accomplished. What ranks are going to be doing what job or move to what position. And it also clarifies and helps with some of the contractual issues that we would have had without a memorandum of understanding.
Mr. Slutz, you have some questions?
Thank you, Councilwoman Lippman. Chief, you said in this proposal that you're going to abolish a captain's position and a lieutenant's position. Are they planning on retiring anytime soon, or?
I don't have a definite date on that, but from everything I'm hearing, probably within the next 2 to 3 years, but perhaps sooner. But no definite decision has been made on that.
So they could be, the captains could still be there up to possibly 3 years, 2 to 3 years, maybe longer. So my next question is, you plan on taking the lieutenants off the shift and putting them in administrative positions? What are their responsibilities going to be, or their assignments?
Well, they are going to be, one will be running the patrol division in conjunction with the patrol captain, as long as those positions are still there. One will be in charge of the detective bureau. The other one will be over in support. That's more or less a temporary position until we get down to the 3 lieutenants. With these being newer positions, at least initially, their main job is going to be to determine what types of duties and responsibilities they are going to have. We're going to be taking duties and responsibilities from amongst 4 people, and now it's going to be spread out amongst 5 people. So there is going to be some moving around of duties and responsibilities, and we're going to work together to make sure that those get assigned properly. Currently, we could be doing a lot better. And I just think this is going to make us much more efficient. So that's what they're going to be doing, at least initially. After we get that done, then they can be focusing in on their specific division, on what they want to see happen with it, and any plans or planning. There's a lot to it, but they're going to be definitely very busy.
So in your detective bureau, there's going to be a lieutenant, a sergeant, supervising 3 detectives?
Well, there's 4 detectives down there. The sergeant is going to be the first line supervisor. He's going to be supervising the 4 detectives. The lieutenant is going to be supervising the detective bureau as a whole, doing more of the management part of it, not the direct supervision part of it.
Chief, I have another question. Are the lieutenants going to be taking over the responsibilities that the captains do now?
Well, that's to be determined. I mean, we are still going to have a captain, and like I said, we are going to look at all those duties and responsibilities that everybody is doing and try to divvy those up in the most efficient way and what makes sense type of manner.
So the captains won't have as much responsibility in the future, according to this proposal?
No, that's not true.
Can you explain, please?
I can't give you specifics right now because, like I said, the actual duties and responsibilities are going to change from what they currently are. But the captain is still going to be overall responsible for everything underneath them. Like anytime you move up in rank, you assume more responsibility. And it's still going to be the same way. But as far as specific duties, that's going to be yet to be determined.
Okay. And then I want to ask you, you said how is this going to improve the police services to the community?
Because we're going to have more effective and efficient supervision throughout the entire police department, not just in one area of it. We have the Detective Bureau, and yeah, this is not a hit on the guys in the DB. They're really good guys, but we do need supervision there. We need more supervision with our support division, with the jailers, with the traffic officer, with the SROs. We need somebody in more of a direct supervision capacity for them. Not that they're incapable of operating, but you know, anybody in a management situation, though, you need to have a supervisor. It's all about accountability.
Okay, just a few more questions. Thank you. In section 2, you said officers promoted on an acting basis will not count towards the listed requirements. What does that mean?
That means if we have, say, for instance, a sergeant that is off for 6 months due to some type of an injury, we may put someone into that position on a temporary basis, and we can't have that counting towards that number, because then that would put us over. We're obviously not going to demote the person that was injured. That would make no sense.
And then lastly,
I have to apologize. I have to interrupt. I just have to remind everybody, we are on a truncated schedule tonight. We do have a regular session that we have to get to. So if some of this discussion can wait until the regular session, that might help us move along.
I have one more question and I'm done. Chief, what is your plan to get the 44 patrol officers? Because how many do we have now on patrol?
Patrol, we have 33, I believe.
Okay, and what is your plans to get the 44?
That 44 is a max, from what I was told from the law department.
So we don't have any intentions on getting to that number?
I've already been in talks with the mayor and the safety director. I would like to get up to that number, but you've had experience in the police department. You know how hard it is to hire and find good people to bring in. We've been hiring nonstop for the last 8 years, and we've been doing everything we can to get good people in. And we're going to continue to do that. But I think especially with the culture the way it is now, it's going to be even harder to find good people. That's why it's even more important to try to keep the people that we have and keep them happy enough to stay.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Lombardi?
Mrs. Littman, it seems to me like this could use a little bit more discussion, and I'm just wondering if we should just move this to the next work session at this.
I have a question. Chief, are you still on the line?
I'm still here.
Okay, when would you hope to implement this reorganization?
I would like to do it as soon as possible. We've been in discussions with the gold unit for a long time. Finally got an agreement on an MOU. It is going to take some time to be able to promote that 7th sergeant initially. So the more it gets delayed, the longer it's going to take. So, I mean, but that's up to you guys.
Well, I think I would be okay with putting it on the agenda, knowing that we will likely have 3 readings and additional opportunities for more discussion. Mr. Lombardi, would you be okay with putting it on the agenda, knowing that we're going to have several more opportunities to ask additional questions of the chief?
At this point, no.
Okay. Mr. Therrett?
I'd rather see some of these questions in the ranks. I was under the impression there was 44, if there's only 33 now. That again, yeah, I'd like to see some more discussion shortly. Thank you.
Okay, all right, well then we will move that to a next work session. As Chief indicated, there's an accompanying piece of legislation that indicates the gold unit and their request for the memorandum of understanding that will go with the prior legislation. So both of those will move forward to work session. The next item we have is a request for legislation, again from Chief Moser. Let me read that through. This is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Ohio State Highway Patrol Crime Laboratory, the purpose of which is to acquire controlled substance training aids and declaring an emergency. Again, this is indicated as an emergency on the request for legislation. Said enactment, reason for the legislation, said enactments are necessary for the efficient operations of the police department of the City of Massillon and for the preservation of public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Chief Moser, would you explain further the MOU, please?
Like it says, it's an MOU to be able to get controlled substance training aids. This will be for our K9 unit, K9 Louise. It's so that he has the ability to continue his training with controlled substances outside of the normal scheduled training. The controlled substances are kept in a safe. They're locked up. They are only used for training, and the accountability of them is pretty strict. So it's a standard MOU that the State Highway Patrol uses with all canines when they give out this type of these substances.
Are there any questions for Chief Moser from the committee members? From other council members? Okay, well, this is something that we can certainly put on our agenda if there is verbals that will be had. Mr. Lombardi,
I give my verbal.
Mr. Therrett,
Give my verbal.
I will give my verbal as well.
Thank you.
Next piece of, or next request for legislation again was from Chief Moser. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Stark County Prosecutor's Office for the purpose of committing to the Children's Network Child Advocacy Center model in Stark County and declaring an emergency. Again, requesting an emergency legislation. Reason being, said enactments are necessary for the efficient operations of the police department and for the preservation of public health, safety, and welfare. Chief Moser?
Yes, we are already have an understanding with the prosecutor's office on this. We've participated for many years in this. Detective McConnell is part of the team that they have. So with the election of the new prosecutor, they needed to have everyone re-sign a new MOU with the prosecutor. So that is why this is being brought forward.
Are there any questions from the committee? Any questions from other council members? Mrs. Sterrett?
Not a question, but I do work for the prosecutor's office and periodically with the Children's Network, so I will abstain from this vote.
Thank you. We can go ahead and I'll give my verbal to put it on agenda for next meeting. Mr. Ferret,
Yeah, I'll give my verbal. Thank you.
Mr. Lombardi,
I'll give my verbal.
Thank you.
thank you. Next item we have is a request for legislation from Chief Moser. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon to enter into a license and service agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc. for the purpose of purchasing a state-of-the-art hosted records management system from Tyler Technologies. This will be part of a county-wide initiative to integrate multiple agencies into a single system. The Stark County Sheriff's Office is already contracted with Tyler Technologies with the approval of the Stark County Board of Commissioners for this system, and the city will benefit by receiving substantial discounts for implementing this system in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office. Several other local agencies are in the process of joining as well. Training on the system can be shared by multiple agencies, which increases the savings to the departments. The system will enable all officers to have immediate access to information from a network of multiple databases, which will increase officer safety, efficiency, and transparency. The system is designed to eliminate duplication of entries between the CAD, mobile reporting, citations, charging documents, and booking documents, saving valuable time. Managers will be able to use the data to evaluate trends in activity and monitor enforcement activities more efficiently. Statistics will be readily available based on any number of criteria and can be shared with interested parties. State and federal reporting can be met easily as the system is already set up to meet these requirements. The request is for emergency legislation, and reason being said enactments are necessary for the efficient operations of the police department and for preservation of public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Chief Moser, would you like to discuss a little bit about this new records management system?
Certainly. The current records management system that we have is at least 20 years old. It was never designed to have the functionalities some of the current systems have. Basically, we used it as a system to write reports and store them. Since we purchased that system, it's been bought and sold several times. Central Square currently owns it. They keep it as a legacy system, so that's why it's still up and running, but they aren't putting any money into it or doing any upgrades. Like we said, the sheriff's office has recently purchased this system, and the functionality with it will just be able to give our officers so much more information on the road. It will cut down their reporting time significantly. It'll also eliminate a lot of mistakes because most of it's automated. So it's something that is long overdue for us. And like we said, by jumping on this now as part of this county collaborative type of thing, we're going to save significantly on the price of it.
Can you discuss a little bit about the investment in the
Pardon
system?
me, Ms. Littman.
Yes,
We really need to get moving along. If you can save all discussion for the actual meeting, as long as your committee members want to give verbals.
that's fine. Mr. Therrett, would you like to give a verbal?
Yes, please, my verbal.
Mr. Lombardi?
I'll give my verbal.
Good. I will give mine as well.
Thank
That's
you.
all we know.
All right, next we will just jump straight to streets and highways. Mr. Tharrett, I do ask that you only try to collect verbals from your committee members unless they have objections.
Certainly. The first one is to please prepare ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder upon approval of the Board of Control for the 2021 Erie Street Underpass Guardrail Attenuators Replacement Project. Bids are received. The project cost is $99,880 funded through the Erie Street Underpass Guardrail Attenuators Replacement Project account and declaring an emergency. I'm sure everyone knows where it is. Seems to be an attractive place down here. Cars like to bump into it. And it is emergency language. I would definitely give my verbal to this.
Creamer, verbal.
Jamie,
Slutes, verbal.
thank you.
And the next one is please prepare an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety to advertise for and receive sealed bids, enter into contract with the lowest and best bidder upon approval of the Board of Control for the 2021 street resurfacing project. Current project cost estimate is $1,645,910, and it's funded through the listed resurfacing fund line items there, and declaring an emergency. We need to do this to expedite the bid and get the best prices so work can start on May. I would give my verbal.
Creamer, verbal.
Slutes, verbal.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Finance, we have some old legislation that will go along with community development for the grants. If they are to pass, then we would consider for potential passage this evening. The first piece of legislation we have is for the appropriation of the potential fire truck purchase if police and fire brings that forward for a vote. The appropriation is only needed for $742,000 out of the general fund because they do have $118,000 already in their capital fund. You will notice that with the signature of the auditor on this legislation is her verification that the funds are available for us to make a decision on. I know the question was also asked about weekly updates of the carryover. Just so everyone knows, you can find that on our cash report. It's the unencumbered balance of the general fund. It's in the far right-hand top column. Currently, that number is about 3.4 million of what we have left of what we would call our carryover. I will go ahead and give my verbal for this to be put on the agenda for this evening.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
Thank you. Our next
Thank you.
is please prepare legislation to appropriate $99,880,000 from the unappropriated balance of the general fund for the street underpass guardrail attenuators replacement project. We're discuss more at the council meeting if necessary. I give my verbal.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
Thank you.
The next piece is please prepare legislation appropriating $100,000 from the unappropriated balance of the general fund for the city improvement projects. This appropriation is needed to cover the expenses related to the demolition of multiple structures. So this is basically locally funding what used to be the NIP project. I do know we have some discussion that will count later, but I will give my verbal for it to be on the agenda this evening.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
The next one is please appropriate $119,866.12 into transfer out. This is so that we can begin the process of purchasing a street department vacuum machine. I will give my verbal.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
The next one is again appropriation of $119,866.12. This is going from transfer out to transfer in so that it may be able to be used for this department vacuum machine. I give my verbal.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
All right, the last step in this process is to actually appropriate it into the street department equipment line. So I would give my verbal for that to be on the agenda this evening.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
All right, we have police prepare legislation to appropriate from the unappropriated balance of the $48,931 to the following account, which is engineering services and contracts. This is an appropriation as need to repair of bridges in accordance with the case number 2015 CDC H000428. I'll give my verbal. We're definitely get some more discussion later.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
Please prepare legislation authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety to enter into a one-year contract with the Stark County Commissioners for the housing of the City of Massillon, Ohio codified ordinance prisoners at the Stark County Jail. I give my verbal.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
I'm scrolling, hold on. Next one coming from the municipal court, please prepare legislation to appropriate from the unappropriated balance the court probation fund. 13,000 for service and contracts. This is to pay maintenance agreement for the high scan x-ray machine for building security. I give my verbal.
Starrett, verbal.
Greg, verbal.
And then please appropriate 176,000 from the unappropriated balance of the general fund to the police department. This is for the Tyler Technologies that was mentioned during that committee meeting. I give my verbal.
Starrett, verbal.
That
Greg,
is all.
verbal.
Oh, sorry. I give my verbal. I give my. That's it for finance. I believe we'll take a 5-minute recess and then start our regular session.
Okay,
To me, we will start at 6:37.
Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Lewis.
Go ahead.
Did you say we're gonna start at 7?
We set the meeting at
6:37.
7 o'clock.
We did not set it at 7. It said that's the problem we ran into, and that's why I was trying to speed things along. This was supposed to be a truncated meeting. It was advertised to directly follow the city council meeting without a time specified. So in order to be as close and as clear as possible, we have to try to start as close to 6:30 as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Madison City Council meeting for Monday, March 15th, 2021. We have in attendance with us the following city officials. Diane, if you could do a roll call.
Ma'am. Mayor Kathy Catazera Perry,
Good evening.
Safety Service Director Barb Sylvester,
Present.
Auditor Jane Ferraro, Chief Deputy Auditor Debbie Bonk, Chief Deputy Auditor Stephanie Myers, Law Director Justin Richard, Chief Counsel Bill Bartos,
Present. I apologize, present.
okay. Chief Engineer David Kropp, Chief Engineer Jason Popeil,
Present.
Community Development Director Samantha Walters,
Present.
Economic Development Director David Maley,
Present.
Parks and Rec Director Steve Pedro, Police Chief Keith Mosier,
Present.
Fire Chief Bergasser,
Here.
Income Tax Budget Director Lori Katagides Boron. Is there anyone else from administration that I might have missed?
Greg McHugh, engineering.
Oh, sorry, Greg, I did it again, huh?
That's all right.
Okay. Okay, I believe that's it, Madam President.
Thank you and welcome this evening. Under number 5 on the agenda is where the public can speak on any item that appears on tonight's agenda. And then again, under number 17 is where the public can speak on any item that did not appear on tonight's agenda. I would like to ask any of you to please mute yourselves until you are speaking. And if the public was on earlier, we were not trying to rush anybody, but we did want to get the meeting started as close to 6:30 as we could in case the public was logging in. So I apologize to anybody that may have thought they were being rushed. My apologies are from me and Ed both. Roll call.
Creamer,
Present.
I see you there, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear my name. Present.
Hurricane,
Here.
Lewis,
Present.
Littman,
Here.
Lombardi,
Here.
Sloots,
Here.
Starrett,
Here.
and Barrett.
Present.
Roll call of 9 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All present and accounted for. Councilwoman Littman,
Thank you, Madam President. Would you please join me for the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Councilwoman Littman.
You're welcome, Madam President.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are the minutes of the previous meeting transcribed and open for public viewing?
Yes, they are.
Are there any corrections or additions to be made?
No, there are not.
Thank you. Then the minutes stand approved as written. We are at number 5 on the agenda, where anybody from the audience can speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address, and topic you wish to discuss. Hearing none, we'll move into new and miscellaneous business.
Madam President,
Yes,
I have a question for the law director to guide in a motion that I believe I have to make.
go right ahead.
Mr. Richard, it looks like I'll be needing to make a motion suspending the rule of council so that we can get the matters that we just discussed on tonight's agenda.
Yes, I believe so. And we'll need to vote on that as well.
All right, thank you. Well, then I make a motion that we amend tonight's agenda to include all items discussed at the work session of March 15th, 2021 to be included on introduction of ordinances and resolutions, first readings.
Do you have a second?
Lombardi,
Roll call?
Gregg,
Yes.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
9 yes, to amend tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The agenda has been amended. On my sheet you gave me, Diane, says introduction of ordinances and resolutions, and I have no numbers.
That's because I don't have any ordinances.
All right,
I
then,
couldn't make them into ordinances without the verbals.
right. So,
So then we can't do anything tonight. We have to go straight to second and third readings.
okay. Is there any unfinished business?
One second, Madam President.
Go ahead, Ed.
Do we need to call a special meeting then for Monday, probably at 6:30, so that these matters can receive their first reading? Because some of them are time sensitive, I'm sure.
Monday at 6:30 before the committee meeting?
Yeah, we have a lot more leeway with committee meetings. We can just do the committee meetings after the special meeting. That's fine, because we have that leeway on a little bit more leeway there.
So,
Ed,
A voting session, we need to make sure we're concrete on.
Ed,
Yeah,
there is no meeting Monday. We're off
Cause-
that week.
oh, because it's 5
So
weeks.
it would only be that meeting.
Well, then let's just do it. It'll clean this all up, get the backlog cleared up.
Right.
Unless someone
counsel?
has objection.
anyone have a problem with that? Councilman Hearn Kane?
Now I'm looking at the calendar. You're saying a special meeting for the 29th, not next week?
Nope, 22nd. Is that what
Well,
you're
then
saying, Ed?
we're meeting next week.
No, we're not.
So the 29th then?
No, so what she's saying is that without the special meeting, we would not be meeting next week. When we call the
Yeah.
special meeting, we will be on the 22nd, and then we would have our next work session on the 29th.
No, yeah, that's fine. I got you.
Anyone on council have a problem with that? Boy,
All
I
right,
hate
well,
to
then we have to disregard our previous motion, second, and vote, because there's nothing to add into that section of the agenda.
Okay. So next Monday, the 22nd at 6:30. Correct?
Correct.
And I'm just going to throw this out right now. Will we be meeting in council chambers?
As soon as we can. I know Mr. Hernkane has brought it up, but that'd be great.
Councilman Hernkeen.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. On the March 2nd order from the Director of the Ohio Department of Health, which made some amendments to the previous mass gathering order of greater than 10 people, amended certain things like weddings and funerals, and I think our meetings fall somewhere in between. But one of the items it does for the first time, I think, explicitly state is that the 10-person no gatherings greater than 10 people, for the first time, I think in writing, it actually explicitly stated that governmental meetings are not subject to that. Again, that was by Director Stephanie McLeod, dated March 2nd, 2021.
So, what are you guys thinking? And Ed and I have talked, and Ted and I have talked. For anyone that is not comfortable coming in, that is still fine. Am I correct in stating that, Ed?
I suppose, but I concur with Mr. Hernkane from the evidence that I have found, and I appreciate his research that he's done. I see no reason why we can't start meeting in chambers, and if we are doing that, then I think it would behoove all members of council be present for that.
Anyone have a comment? So when do you think we should start this? Councilman Hernkane, are you leaning forward to talk?
I am, thank you.
Okay.
I would say at the next meeting.
Comments?
I'm
So-
fine with that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Slipman.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that would be on the 22nd?
I'm fine with that. I've wanted to get in for the last 6 months.
I think as long as we have an avenue for the administration to be able to still be part of the meeting, I think they would be wanting to still join us virtually to keep numbers as low as possible.
Is there a restriction to the numbers that can be there? Councilman Lombardi?
I think we still have to follow the social distancing rules of 6 feet between people. So putting administration in there and any public would really probably jeopardize that. We have the ability to, all of us meet in there and still do the meeting virtually so that the public can come in virtually and so can the administration and interact with us.
Thank you, Councilman Starrett.
I know originally we were planning on coming back in because we're planning on live streaming it and have some people come in virtually. We talked about doing it at a work session, just in case we have some issues with the public being in and things like that. So I don't know if we want to try it on our next regular meeting, which will be the 22nd. It might behoove us to wait till the work session on the 29th in case we do have some hiccups or issues. I don't know if Mr. Lombardi, you seem to be more in tune with how everything's going to go, streaming it from chambers. If you're confident, then I believe in you, but I don't know if it's a good idea to wait until we have the work session rather than the regular meeting.
I don't suppose.
President Eisnick?
Go ahead. I don't suppose another week would kill me, but go ahead, Councilman.
I was
Lombardi.
going to say I agree with Mrs. Starrett. We probably should do a more of a dry run during a
That's
work
fine.
session, just in case. And I will need some assistance in placing the camera before that meeting, that first meeting happens.
So then our first meeting will be on Monday, the 29th of March. Councilman Littman.
Thank you, Madam President. Diane, has there been any cleaning of council chambers over the last year? Or is there regular cleaning being done since we've not been in chambers?
Yes, the cleaning crew comes through on Tuesdays and Fridays. They have not cleaned the partitions because there have not been anyone there, but she does clean like the desk and my desk. She runs the vacuum. Trash has been emptied. So we do get a visitation from the cleaning crew twice a week.
Is it more thorough than just a regular cleaning?
No, because there's nobody in there but me.
So when it is, then it will be a more deep cleaning between sessions?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
with disinfectant, perhaps?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Kramer?
I have a couple questions since it's been so long since we discussed this, going back to council and having Mr. Lombardi man the computer. Will this be, will the WebEx be projected up on a screen, and will there be speakers involved in case we do have people calling in? So all can hear the questions and have that answer, be able to follow up? I can't recall.
Mrs. Eisnick, if you don't mind, I can
don't.
explain how this would work.
Okay.
The way this will work is we would not see the WebEx meeting anymore. Diane will have a laptop at her station. President Eisnick will have a laptop at her station. And the reason she has a laptop is so she can be on the WebEx as well, because the camera will be positioned behind her, so she will not be on video. The rest of us will be on video. The camera's going to pan out among the semicircle, so to speak. We will hear everything from the WebEx meeting through the speakers, through the PA system in the council chambers, and everything we speak into our mics when our mics are on will be projected then into the WebEx meeting. We will not see a WebEx meeting. We'll see each other just like a normal council meeting. We just need to make sure that our microphones are on when we're speaking. Otherwise, we will not get into WebEx. Okay. I did have the microphones changed so that more than 3 microphones can be on at one time. However, we can't have them all on at one time. So you still have to be cognizant of when you're not speaking, you want to have your microphone turned off. Other than that, we'll hear anybody, like I say, anybody speaking through the WebEx meeting address system there. And we will also go, our microphones will work the same way through the public address system and into the WebEx.
Thank you.
Councilman Lewis?
I'm thinking that if it's just us members of council and whatnot, is there really a big issue if the press wants to be in person? I mean, they can sit in the back of the room to keep plenty of distance and whatnot.
I don't have a problem with that. I thought Diane and I mapped out that, how many could sit back there, Diane? Was it 2, 3, 4, or
I think it was 6.
6?
Yeah.
But how you would get 6 in there, without offending other people, and if the mayor or somebody from administration wanted to come in, but there would be limited seating. But no, I don't have a problem with the press is there.
Mrs. Eisner,
Yes, sir.
one thing I wanted to point out was what Terry Argent had pointed out when we first started discussing this. We still all have to mask up, and we still have to maintain our own social distancing. We'll hang our coats on the back of our chairs so that we're not in back in the conference room together, and we're not putting our personal property next to other people's personal property, things of that nature.
Yes, agreed. Councilman Farrett?
The masking was just in and out, right?
Uh,
I believe so, but I can give Mrs. Argent a call tomorrow and re-clarify that.
we do
And
not
have that
partition,
information.
but yeah, he can check with Ms. Sargent on that. Anyone else? So there will be somebody downstairs to, well, we don't need security. Well, the doors will just be open.
I would probably have to let everyone in.
Okay. All right, then we will meet in person on the 29th, and next Tuesday will be our special meeting at 6:30 on the 22nd. Anyone else have any concerns at this point? All right, Madam Clerk, is there any unfinished business?
No, there is not.
Are there any petitions and general communications?
No, there are not.
Are there any bills, accounts, and claims?
Yes, we have a bill in the amount of $676.40 for the publication of our January ordinances.
Councilman Lewis,
I make a motion that we pay the bills.
seconded by,
Councilwoman Starrett,
roll call to pay the bills.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
9 yes to pay the bills.
Thank you. The clerk will pay the bills and charge them to their proper accounts. Are there any reports from city officials?
Yes, we have the treasurer's report for February 2021, and we also have the auditor's report for 2021. Did everyone receive their copy?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Lewis,
Make a motion that we accept the auditor's report.
seconded by,
Councilman Gregg,
roll call.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes. Yes.
Gregg,
yes.
and Hernkane.
Yes.
Yes to accept the auditor's report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The auditor's report has been accepted. Our next work session, as we discussed, will be on the 29th, and we will have a special meeting on the 22nd. Both of them will be at 6:30 p.m. Are there any requests or resolutions of our council members? Call of the calendar. Third reading ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 16, 2021.
An ordinance to accept the dedication of road right-of-way and easements for Country View Meadows Phase 2 subdivision, Massillon, Ohio.
Councilman Tharrett,
Thank you, Madam President. If there's no further discussion, Councilman Hurricane.
Thank you, Mr. Thaird. I apologize for interrupting you, but I do want to state for the record that I will be abstaining from this vote. My company did the plat in this matter, and I have a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have that legislation in front of me because I don't get emails yet. I'm sorry. We're still working on that, Diane.
Oh,
But I
okay.
understand this is third reading. So
Yes.
if there's no objection, I would call for a vote tonight on this.
roll call.
We need a second.
Second. That was my second choice, Diane. Councilman Slurts. Roll call.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Hernkane,
Abstain.
and Lewis.
Yes.
8 yes and 1 abstention to pass ordinance number 16-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 16, 2021 is passed. Second reading ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 27, 2021.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to enter into an agreement with the print bar to provide an economic development inducement grant to fund startup costs at the property located at 45 First Street Northwest, Massillon, Ohio.
Councilwoman Starrett,
Thank you, Madam President. This is for a $7,500 grant for Print Bar. Is there any further discussion on this tonight? Seeing none, I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 27-2021 forward for a vote.
seconded by,
Lewis,
Roll call for suspension.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
yes,
Ern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Littman.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
yes,
Ern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 27, 2021 has passed. Ordinance number 28, 2021.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to enter into an agreement with the Head to Toe Salon and Spa to provide an economic development inducement grant to fund startup costs at the property located at 224 First Street Northeast, Massillon, Ohio.
Councilman Starrett.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an additional economic inducement grant. This is for Head to Toe Salon and Spa. This is for $7,500. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 28-2021 forward for a vote.
Seconded by.
Lewis.
Roll call for suspension.
Starrett,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Yes.
Gregg,
yes,
Ern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Slutes.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Starrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
yes,
Ern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
and Starrett.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 28, 2021 has passed. Ordinance number 29, 2021.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to enter into an agreement with Kathy Boyd's Hair Studio to provide an economic development inducement grant for expansion costs at the property located at 212 Federal Avenue Northeast, Massillon, Ohio.
Councilman Starrett.
Thank you, Madam President. This final grant is for Kathy Boyd's Hair Studio in the amount of $3,000. Is there any further discussion or questions tonight? Seeing none, I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 29-2021 forward for a vote.
Seconded by.
Lewis.
Roll call for suspension.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
yes,
Ern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
and Barrett.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Gregg,
yes,
Ern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 29, 2021 has passed. Ordinance number 34, 2021.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1100 General Fund for the Economic Development Department for the year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yeah, so this is the funding of the economic development grants that we just discussed. As you recall, it's a three-step process. First, we take the dollars, put them into transfer out. That's what this ordinance number 34 is. Next, it would go transfer out to transfer in. Then once it's in transfer in, we can appropriate it to the Economic Development Fund. So that's why there's three different ordinances we're going to go through tonight, all detailing the same thing. At a previous work session, we did discuss that they are requesting $60,000. It was stated that they believe that should be able to assist them in the issuance of these grants throughout the year. But there was some discussion about having that appropriation into to 30,000. That way they would have to come to us for further appropriations if necessary. So I guess before we move forward, I'd like to field any discussion or questions regarding, do we want to move forward with the 60,000 or would we want to move forward with the 30,000?
Mr. Lewis?
Councilman Barrett? Was that Mr. Maley?
Yes, it was. I apologize. I just wanted to state that I currently have two more in front of me that I'll probably be bringing at our next regular work session. I don't have a number on those yet, but they probably will be between 10 and 15 for both of them. And then I also have two more that I think are probably en route, should be coming to me within the next couple weeks. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Thank you. Councilman Barrett?
Yeah, I wanted to chime in with, thank you, President Isaac. I don't really see any reason at this point to back it down to 30. If 60 is going to move us into at least part of the rest of the year with these grants, and as Mr. Maley just said, he looks like he has already some in the pipeline. So I'd be amenable to just leaving it at 60. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm fine with that as well, as seeing as how all these grants would still have to come through community development for approval. They just want to have to ask for the appropriations piece. So we still, do offer that oversight prior to. So if there's no other discussion, make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring three readings, bring ordinance number 34-2021 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Stewart.
Roll call for suspension?
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Derrick,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
and Craig.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage?
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Derrick,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and Hearn Kane.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 34, 2021 has passed. Ordinance number 35, 2021.
An ordinance making certain transfers in the 2021 appropriations from within the 1100 General Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, this is just moving it from transfer out to transfer in. Make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring three readings. Bring ordinance number 35, 2021 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Councilman Gregg.
Roll call for suspension?
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Craig,
yes,
Kane,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Craig,
yes,
Kane,
Yes.
Yes.
and Littman.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 35, 2021 is passed. Ordinance number 36, 2021.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1237 Economic Development Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis,
And this is appropriating it to the Economic Development Fund. I make a motion that we suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 36-2021 forward for a vote.
seconded by,
Starrett.
roll call for suspension.
Flute,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Craig,
yes,
Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Craig,
yes,
Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Slutes.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 36, 2021 is passed. We've come to the point on the agenda where the public can speak on any topic that did not appear on tonight's agenda.
Madam
If you-
President,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I found an ordinance. It must have been attached on the back of another one. There was another ordinance number 31. I don't know, we might have to talk to the law department to see how we're gonna handle this. This should have been its second reading. It was for streets and highways to accept the replat and dedication of a road right-of-way on Woodruff Avenue, Northwest Massillon, Ohio. So I don't know if we want to amend the agenda and do it tonight, or if you want me to add it to the agenda for the special meeting.
Mr. Richard, are you there?
Yes, President.
What was your recommendation?
Both, there isn't one. It's 6-1, half a dozen the other. Both are proper procedure.
And you said this was for what committee?
Streets and highways.
Streets and highways. Are you prepared to do this one, or would you prefer to put it on next Monday?
Well, Madam President, I don't think there's any reason to postpone it. It's already been through all the other channels. Just a matter of a replat. So if there's no objection from council, seeing none, I'd make a motion to waive the rules requiring 3 readings and just go ahead and bring this forward for a vote tonight.
Wouldn't we have to
Yeah.
make a motion to amend the agenda? Yeah.
Yes.
No. Then I make a motion that we amend the agenda to bring this up for discussion.
To bring ordinance number 31, 2021 up for discussion. Councilman Lewis, or do you have a question, or are you seconding?
I'm seconding.
Thank you. Roll call, roll call for the amendment.
Okay. Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Yes.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
and Sterrett.
Yes.
9 yes to amend the agenda to add ordinance number 31-2021.
Ordinance number 31, 2021 has been added. Councilman Barrett, back to you.
Thanks again, Madam President. Once more, I'd like to make a motion to waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance, as you stated, for
31,
31, 2020 for a vote tonight.
seconded by.
Creamer.
Roll call for suspension.
Creamer,
Yes.
Egg,
Yes.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
and Barrett.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Gregg,
Yes.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 31, 2021 has passed. Is there anything else from anyone before we go into remarks of delegations and citizens? Okay, seeing none. If anyone from the audience would like to comment on any topic that did not appear on tonight's agenda, please state your name, address, topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Yeah, Madam President, hello to you tonight and everybody else. Larry L.J. DeLuca, 2954 Veterans Boulevard, Southeast Massillon, Ohio. Madam President, I want to talk about fraudulent unemployment payments the state of Ohio intertwined with the city of Massillon, Ohio has been doing. When I say intertwined, I mean mutually involved. Last year, 2020, the state of Ohio paid more than $300 million in fraudulent PUA claims, excuse me. That's Pandemic Unemployment Program Assistance payments. Traditionally, people not eligible, like self-employed and independent contractors. I talked to Chief Deputy Auditor Stephanie Myers and also to Auditor Jane Ferraro. And at the offset of this, I want to tell you they were very nice with me, and I have a lot of confidence in it. But in regard to what I heard Stephanie Myers saying about millions of dollars being paid out for State of Ohio Unemployment Office fraudulent unemployment claims, I called Stephanie Myers because I heard her in a previous meeting in work session say about fraudulent unemployment claims being paid by the state of Ohio and Massillon, Ohio. Stephanie stated we are a reimbursing employer, the city of Massillon. I'll explain it in a little. I told Stephanie, you mean to tell me the city of Massillon is paying fraudulent claims even if you know it's a fraudulent claim? Stephanie said you have to keep some money in a certain fund, Mr. DeLuca, if the city of Massillon is liable. Liable for what? I don't know. Somebody is going to get to the Massillon city employees, I found out, their names and getting their information. It's not the city employees, thank goodness. Stephanie went on to say the state of Ohio has been paying these claims, fraudulent claims. And if they don't pay it, they get fees on account on top of it. Stephanie said, I hope they don't keep charging us. She went on to say a bunch of different things. And I said to Stephanie, I want to understand this more clearly. If it's a fraudulent claim, you need to tell me the city of Massillon Auditor's Office is going to ante up and pay it? She said, yes, and we'll get it back. I got it. I kind of sort of got it. What can we do to get through to the people? I said, what is Jane Ferraro your boss? She said, yes. Stephanie said fraudulent claims have been happening in the state of Ohio since November 2020. That's December 2020, January 21, February 21, and March. Here we go. The state of Ohio has set up, thank goodness, a portal as of February 3rd, 2021, and Stephanie's been using that. She also told me that Form 1 comes in, they filled out, Form 2 comes along, the state of Ohio, and they already paid the fraudulent claims before us here in the city of Massillon Auditor's Office can even appeal it. That's very concerning to me. How about you? And Stephanie said a bunch of things in Massillon, Ohio. The fraud keeps going on and on. So it's easy for me to see how we could lose a lot of money in Massillon, Ohio through all this heckling or pay the money to these fraudsters. Remember Paramount Matrix, former Affinity Medical Center? Fraudsters and fraudulent payments, they go hand in hand, don't they? And this 1100 account that Stephanie set up, the City Unemployment General Fund account, they're taking money out of it. Stephanie spent 4 hours with the state of Ohio. Come on. At McDonald's downtown, I got a call from Jane Ferraro, and also Stephanie Myers was on the speakerphone. Talked about it's going to take Mr. Luca 2 months for us to catch up. It doesn't happen simultaneously at the same time. We're working hand in hand not to pay fraud. Pardon me? 1 minute? Okay. Okay, thanks, Madam President. I appreciate that. Jane Ferraro said, as I said, we'll get to it, a reimbursing employer. That means we don't pay for insurance like a private employer does. They pay into the account. If somebody files a claim for them, that's it. If somebody files the City of Massillon, okay, we pay our share of it. And also, she said, Mr. DeLuca, credit the state of Ohio gives to us. They use the CARES Act money to credit us, and then it is all credited back to us. I got a lot of worries on that. And I said, Jane, how do you know we're getting paid fully? And you know, I have a lot of thing into Jane. She said, Mr. DeLuca, we have to go along with all cities that are paying it, and it's a nation. Jane Ferraro said, Mr. DeLuca, so I want you to rest assured that we are on top of it, and we are taking care of it. And I will promise you no city taxpayer dollars are going to any fraudulent claims. And, you know, just considering in 5 weeks we had 5,700 employers in Ohio submit fraudulent claims for 16,000 workers, I am concerned. But then again, I have all the faith in Stephanie Myers and our auditor, Jane Ferraro. They're very good, and I hope that we can keep a watch on it. It seems to me, Madam President, the state of Ohio is strong-arming the city of Massillon, Ohio, and I don't like it. Thank you, and have a good night. Appreciate it, Madam President.
Anyone else? Hearing none. Councilwoman Littman,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
seconded by Councilman Barrett. Meeting adjourned. Diane?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay. Does Jamie Slutz have